Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 21 of Sooner Girl Sports Pod. This week's episode is my interview with Leah Beasley. She's the Executive Associate Athletics Director of External Engagement at the University of Oklahoma. Basically, her job includes all the key external strategies of revenue generation, student, athlete, and fan engagement and promotion and brand management. She oversees communications, facility project management, digital strategy, revenue innovation, licensing, marketing, and fan engagement, all external NIL, Sooner Vision, and broadcasting, strategic partnerships, and ticket operations and sales. She also collaborates directly with the Sooner Club to develop and execute aggressive and record-breaking fundraising and growth strategies for the university. We go into detail with a lot of her job that she does in the interview. She is an incredible, hard-working woman, and I am so excited for you guys to hear this conversation with Leah. She has been at the university for 3 years, and she previously was at Mississippi State University, where she spent nearly 9 years serving in senior leadership roles as the Deputy Athletic Director. She also started her 18-year career in collegiate athletics at Louisiana Tech University, which was her alma mater. She served in assistant and associate athletic roles there in sales, marketing, and event management. She graduated from Louisiana Tech with a bachelor's in marketing in 2005. She received her master's in business administration in 2006. She was also a 4-year letter winner for the Louisiana Tech softball team. You can find Leah on Twitter or X and Instagram at Leah K. Beasley, and I will put all of that information in the show notes for those of you who are interested in following her. I hope you guys enjoyed this awesome conversation with Leah Beasley. Well, I appreciate you taking the time just in general, but on top of everything else going on, I truly do appreciate it.
Well, no, and I'm excited to do it. I've seen your work, and so obviously you keep promoting women in the sports business. So
Well,
we're
thank
happy
you.
we're happy about that, and I'm proud to be a part of it, and honored to be a part of. So thank you for thinking of
Yes,
me.
of course. Thank you. I'm so thankful for everyone who's taken the time for me because, like you said, I want to promote women in sports and not just athletes. I mean,
Right.
obviously,
Yep.
athletes are the ones that everyone see and want to hear from, but also it's been so great to hear from all these behind the scenes people that do all the dirty work, so to speak,
Right.
and don't get seen. So I know that's a lot of what you do. So I need you to tell me exactly what you do. But tell me first, I know I've seen before on your social media about, did you go to Mississippi State or are you from there?
So I'm
Or,
actually from Louisiana.
okay,
I was born and raised there. I went to school at Louisiana Tech. So I
okay,
played softball for 4 years in
okay.
college. Then I got my MBA a year later, and then the athletics department needed a sports marketer. And I was not quite sure what that was, but I said, let's give it a try. And
Yeah,
so I jumped into that role, was also doing game management, which are two very different areas. You have game
yes,
management on the internal side. So my internal operations athletics friends know what I'm talking about. And then you
yes.
have marketing on the external side, which is like a different part of your brain. And
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know which one won out, probably the internal side because you have to have those things to have the game go off. But
Absolutely.
but you usually don't see both of those roles in one job. So that was the first few years of my career were game management and then sports marketing for
Okay,
Louisiana Tech University, my alma mater. And then
awesome.
stayed there for 7, 8 years and worked through administration, and then saw the opportunity at Mississippi State, and I was very blessed to be given that opportunity by a couple big leaders in the sports world right now. Scott Strickland, who is the AD at Florida, and then
Okay,
Scott Weatherby, who's the AD at Eastern Michigan. Those two
nice.
gentlemen I owe a lot to in my career, and as well as Jim Oakes, who hired me at Louisiana Tech.
Mhm.
And he took a chance on a green 23-year-old who had no idea what sports marketing was. But it's been a fun ride. And then from Mississippi State, almost 9 years later, then I have been fortunate to be on the team of Oklahoma, and so it's
It's
been a
awesome.
fun ride. I've been here for just now 3 years.
Cool. Okay. Well, I've never heard anything bad about Josie. And I don't remember where this originated. I feel like it was maybe Toby Rowland on the radio. I don't know. But somebody at some point, like within the last couple of years, started calling him Joey Clutch.
That's fabulous.
And
That's
so
fabulous.
if you haven't heard that,
I love it.
I
I gotta
I
tell him
can't.
that.
Yes,
Has he been told that? I guess he has. He listens to T Row all the
I
time.
feel like he has.
He's
It
got
may
it.
have been Gabe and Teddy,
Okay.
even. I can't remember exactly where it originated from, but I've heard it various places in the last couple of years. And so when I see him, that's what I think. And I have to really concentrate not to
Not
call him. If I
laughing.
ever met him in real life, I would have to really focus not to call him that to his face because he
I'm
would be
sure
like,
he would
"What?"
laugh though. I'm sure he would laugh. Like I'm sure he would. I know. I'm sure he's been put in a lot of different interesting situations, and I'm sure that would actually be
Sure.
maybe a compliment to him. So
Absolutely. Well, he's definitely made some clutch moves there, with a lot of different hires. So
no,
he,
and
he's he's
it's
earned
been
it.
it's been a blessing, and the external side is we talked a little bit about like the marketing. You kind of say, oh,
Hmm.
that's promoting and advertising, but in the external world, which is kind of what I jumped into at the end of Mississippi State, and then in this role in Oklahoma, there are
Hmm.
so many different areas that external is labeled or falls under the
Yeah.
external umbrella, and so it's I always like to describe it as the fun stuff. So
Yes.
again,
Yes.
no offense to my internal operations friends, but they're dealing with a lot of rules and the compliance folks and the
Yes.
academics and financial, and I like to spend money, so we like
Yeah.
to spend, but we also make money. So in our world, it's the strategic communications, crisis management, marketing,
Yes.
advertising,
Uh-huh.
promoting. It is the creative, so all the fun videos
That's
and
cool.
video boards that you see, all that content, the
Hmm.
photography, the graphic design, all of those external facing elements, billboards, newspaper ads,
Yes.
radio
Okay.
spots. Our Sooner Vision team, national
Uh-huh.
award winning Sooner Vision team, they're handling all of those videos as well as our TV partnerships and how we're broadcasting. Another part is licensing. So
Uh-huh.
making a lot of money in royalties for the
Yes.
benefit of OU and our student athletes,
Yes.
and then also too we the ticketing piece is very adjacent to us and like basically helping our department raise revenue for ticket sales, group sales, how we are putting people in seats, and then once they're in the seats, how we are entertaining them
Hmm.
and making them want to come back. Like that's obviously a big part of what we do, and we work with the sponsorship side of the house too, and how you really partner brands with student athletes, with Oklahoma. Oklahoma is an incredibly valuable brand on its own, and you have
Absolutely.
other partners who want to be a part of us and who want to join, and we're all lifted together basically. So that's where we're
Okay.
trying to build brand affinity through that as well. So how do we do that? We have the digital team and the social media team. So all of these players, all of these different areas are all collaborating together to then increase the student athlete and fan experience, enhance that
Yeah.
to have a first class experience. Number two is brand building. How are we building brand affinity for Oklahoma and our student athletes? And then also revenue generation. So we really talk about those three big things a lot in a lot of our meetings. And when we're making decisions, those are the three big things that we're focusing on in order to drive those decisions that we're making every day. And
Yeah.
Jesse is obviously a big part of that too, and helping guide us in those ways.
For sure. Well, that makes sense because we got to have money to do all the things. But like you said, getting people there is sometimes the easy part of the battle, so to speak, I would think, for the most part anyway. But when you get them there and you want them to be entertained, and that's really something I've never thought about,
Yeah.
it just happens.
Right.
When you're there, you don't think about the timing and all the things.
Right.
I did talk to Caitlin
Yeah.
Fournier a couple months ago, yeah, and so she was telling me a little bit about all of that behind the scenes stuff, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like I've never thought about,
That's
you
good
know,
though. We
it.
don't
It
we
is,
don't want we want the fan to sit there
yes,
and be entertained and not
yes,
have to think about the details. And hopefully if there's a blip, you don't see it, and it's we might be kicking ourselves, but you don't notice if there's
for
a blip.
sure. So Caitlin was talking about that as well, and just the timing of everything. And like you said, it's a good thing that we don't think about
Yeah.
it as spectators because we're not supposed to. But she was telling me about things may not always go the way that she wants them to go, or you guys have it all planned out. But as long as we don't notice, that's what counts. But I was telling her about the only thing that has ever stuck out to me, and it's not even a big deal, it was just something that I remember, but something that she said, yeah, that went wrong, so to speak. I think it was last year, it may have been 2 years ago for the opener football game. There was a pretty big delay between, the video's timed to where it ends and out comes the team and
Oh,
the
I
smoke and
remember.
all that.
I remember specifically. Yes,
Yes, she did too. She did too.
I'm pretty sure I was yelling at everybody I could find.
Well, I do not know Coach Venables personally, but I've been around him enough to know that he's a little long-winded. So apparently that's what had happened. And so it's funny because I feel like everybody around us, like we all knew, like, oh, Coach Venables is in there getting long-winded, which I realize he was told not to do that, and he did it anyway. But it's
There
a
are
little
things outside of our control, and
absolutely,
we have to be ready for those. And
absolutely,
usually our team does a great job
yes,
of doing a plan B. And
yeah,
I believe in the moment we go back and forth between different types of shots. In
yes.
that moment, we had done that, and it was still waiting. And I was like, my goodness, I don't think anybody expected that type of result.
Right. And I don't remember what happened in that lag time or anything else. And like I said, we all kind of knew what had happened, but it was just funny. I'm sure on your end,
Panic.
I would have been, yes,
Panic.
yes, exactly. Like, what is
Oh,
going
yeah.
on? You're making us look crazy.
Let me tell you the marketer's nightmare is a team not coming out. The national anthem will give anybody a fit. I mean,
Oh
that
my
is,
gosh.
and
Yes.
if you in your marketing career have not had an issue with the national anthem, then you are one of a kind, and you might need to go play the lottery because you're one lucky son of a gun
Lucky.
because it
Absolutely.
is. Everybody in our marketing world has had an issue with that. I'm sure that's to be said with
I'm
within the
certain.
area, but man, that's one that's a tough one.
Yeah, that I can only imagine because everything has to be so spot on and
Right.
meticulous and
Well,
you're relying on so many other people
right.
to do the same thing and just one thing or one person and it just all messes up. It's stressful
That's
for
right.
sure.
But it's a blast. And whenever
Yeah.
something when you are sitting there, and what I describe as is the puppet master.
Hmm.
Like for 80,000 people, we are their puppet master. So Caitlin and I have talked about that before, and that was in
Hmm.
my role at Mississippi State. I'm not doing that here, but in Mississippi, like that was you're literally, if I want you to clap, here's what I'm gonna do. If I
Yes.
want you to incite the officials a little bit, which we're not supposed to do, but yes, we're going to try to do that.
Yeah.
Here's what we're going to do. So
Yes.
you're always thinking of ways to entertain and then to give your team an advantage. And
For
so
sure.
that is also our job.
Goodness.
Now
Yes.
there are times whenever you might go a little too far, toe the line a little bit. We don't want to be bad sports.
Right. Right.
Certainly, but we also want to balance, and it's a tough balancing act between different ages of fans, different backgrounds,
So
diverse
true.
background of fans,
So
what
true.
everybody wants versus what our students want versus what our
Hmm.
student athletes want versus what our coaches want. We're really trying to balance a lot of different personalities and desires
For sure.
into a show, and a
Yes.
couple hour show.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, man, you've hit the lottery. So
For
it's
sure.
no better feeling than feeling that at your fingertips, that type of gratitude towards the fans and then from
Hmm.
the fans. That's
Oh,
a
yeah.
very, very rewarding. And then at the end of the day, when the student athletes win, that's what we're here for. So that's
Absolutely.
the most fun part.
Absolutely. Okay, so you've been at OU for 3 years. We've had a lot of ups and downs during that time across the board.
Right. Right.
But what's one of your favorite memories that you can recall?
Yeah, so actually the first national championship I was a part of
Hmm.
here, which was the 22 softball national championship. So I was at Mississippi State and was the baseball sport administrator whenever they won their first university school national championship. So I was in Omaha and got to
That's
experience that
cool.
with the team and that staff. They were like family to me. So that was my first national championship at Mississippi State. States first.
That's really cool.
Well, then I came to Oklahoma, and it's I don't want to say it's like old hat, because we certainly don't take it for granted here, and I hope our fans don't take it for granted. As you've heard Coach Gasso
Yes.
say many times, it is not easy.
No.
Coach Kindler, it is not easy. Obviously football, baseball, softball, look at all the teams that have their peers are right alongside them in postseason.
Yes.
So it is wild how many SEC teams are right alongside us. And if you follow the SEC, I'm sure you do.
Yes.
You see them posting all the time about how many SEC teams are in the postseason and playing
Yes, and it's
for
incredible.
national championships, Elite Eights, regional championships, whatever it may be. So that moment was, I guess, my second national championship, my first at OU. Women's gym had just won. I hadn't gotten here
Okay,
yet.
yes.
I believe men's golf won as well. Tennis played for a national championship, and that was my first week, I believe. And
Oh my goodness.
ball played for a national
Yes.
championship. So I did actually go to Omaha for that. And I think that was I don't know, I think I was 2 weeks on the job, and I was in Omaha.
Yeah.
And so, but then seeing softball win it, it was just so amazing. And I knew they had already won several times, and
Yeah.
so had men's golf and KJ with women's gyms. Even though it was a standard of excellence, there is a championship standard, championship mindset here, just to use Coach Gasso's words.
Yeah.
It still isn't taken for granted. And so seeing those moments and being basically pulled onto the field at that point in time, USA Hall of Fame Stadium, now Devon Park, was insane. I mean, it was just the most special moment. Somebody handed me a trophy, and I was like, no, this is for the players. And
Yeah, I didn't do this.
they're like, this is your first one. Take a picture. And so, and somebody on the staff sent it to me, and it meant a lot, just because
Yes.
it was this is what Oklahoma stands for, and it's for raising these trophies and for supporting the student athletes first. And that's what that was. Everybody who was part of that, there were tears, there were shouts, there were screams and hugs, and everybody got to play a role in their success. And again, that is what we are here for, is to impact lives, and that certainly impacted their life, and still is to this day.
Yes.
So that was my first most memorable moment here, is kind of just being a part of that.
That's a good one. That's a
Oh,
great
hey,
first memory at OU.
Several cents. So I'm very very fortunate to work with these great programs.
For sure. I just talked with Carson Atwood, who is a former baseball player, and he was on the 22 team that went to Omaha. So we talked about that journey, just making it through regionals, and how it was so surreal for the guys, for the team, and then, I was telling him how I'm sitting over here as a spectator following all these sports, and it's very easy to take it for granted, like these wins.
Yes.
And, winning a series or winning a regional or whatever, and then you get so far in the postseason and you're just like, it's expected, or you don't really think about all that went into it. So hearing his side of that too is really cool, because like you said, we don't want to take it for granted, because it's not easy when you think about everything that has to happen to get there.
Right.
It's crazy. You can't take it for granted. And I mean, we look at the gymnastics team, women's gymnastics last year, and they broke all those records all season, the best team, and then it didn't work out. They didn't even make it past the semis, and everybody was just like, what?
Right.
And I can't even imagine the heartbreak and the shock and just all the emotions that go into that, disappointment. And then they turn around and claim it back this year, which was super cool. But yeah, it's not easy to do that. And you can have a bad day or a good day, and then look, oh, here you are. And you're just like, okay, but yeah, there's so much work. And I've heard this past week, I guess Patty had used this word in one of her press conferences. She said clutchness.
Yes.
We didn't know.
I was standing in the back of the room for that.
Okay.
I was like, that's
Yes, I was like, I don't know if that's an actual word, but it is now.
yes. Because Coach Gasso said it.
Absolutely. I've seen the shirts. I need to get one. But, that's really what it is. Thinking about our softball team just getting hot at the right time. And our baseball team had a good outing at the SEC tournament. And it's just, again, playing good on the right days at the right time. And you hope. There's so much work that goes into it, even when they don't come out on top. I just can't imagine the emotions.
That's right.
But
Well, and there's a lot from, again, you think about the internal operations side and the external operations side and academics and compliance and business office. There are representatives from all these areas that are, supporting and lifting up these teams. And
Yes.
obviously the student athletes are what make it and the coaches are what guide
Hmm.
it. But we got to give, the flowers to
Absolutely.
that staff. And so you talk about behind the scenes, and you don't necessarily think about, feeding the student athletes, getting them to A and
Yes.
B, taking the picture, like being there at the right moment, at the right
Hmm.
time to take the picture. We have two photographers, and they're actually both up for photographer of the year
Well, that's
for a
amazing.
national award, and it's because they're at the right spot at the right time, and they have trained their student team to be at the
Hmm.
right spot at the right time, and to you never know when something's going to happen, and so we want to capture it.
Absolutely.
So many stories that are untold, and so that's our job. And you've
Yes.
heard me talk about the different areas, but at the end of the day, we are storytellers, we are ambassadors for student athletes and for OU, for the brand of OU. And so our job is to tell that story, and if we're doing it well, it will have reach, it will boost our brand, it will then turn into more support and
Hmm.
more revenue. So
Yes.
everything is cyclical,
Yes.
everything. And but we couldn't do our jobs without the support of the business office. We just, in academics, we love to promote, like we are here to graduate students as well.
Yes.
So
Yes. Absolutely.
we've had more and more records in that area. So props to the academics team, but they give us the information, we promote it. So every single area, it's just really cool to see how connected they are. And at the
Yes.
end of the day, the goal is the student athlete experience and the fan experience to create those magic memories
Yes.
that people, you asked me about my memory here. Well, gosh, so many people like yourself, and we're talking to fans who have been Oklahoma fans since they could walk, and now they're 90 years old. And
Uh-huh.
so, what are we doing to continue to honor them and thank them
Yes.
for their support of OU? So that's part of our external team's job as well. Is it's a lot of it, but it's telling those stories, and it's honoring those fans, and
Sure.
hoping that they come back and then honor the next student athlete.
Absolutely. So you mentioning the photographers and getting that moment. I just a couple of weeks ago, well, it was after the Texas series, the baseball Texas series. I was there on the Thursday night game, and I know Travis Davison. I don't
Yeah,
know if you know him, but
I do.
okay, so he sits down right behind home plate, and there was a photographer, and his name has escaped me, but he went down and he sat next to Travis and was talking to him, and then later that evening he posted a photo he had taken, like through the arms of the
Yes,
batter, a picture of Kyson Witherspoon.
yes.
And that
Cool.
was the coolest picture. It's one that stuck out to me for it's in a while. It's been a long while since I've seen one stick out to me like that. And I wish I could remember that guy's name. I did give him a shout out on my podcast a couple weeks ago
It
when
was
I
it
knew.
was it Morgan Givens?
Yes, I
Yeah.
believe that was him. Yes,
So
yes.
Morgan and then our assistant photographer Brendel Vargas, they're both
Okay,
up for National Photographer of the Year. And then
that's
our
so
and our
cool.
our center vision team, our content team on the center vision side, so those are the videographers. So you see
Hmm.
all the cool videos being put out. They are constantly thinking of new ways. Like
Yes.
Morgan, that's a new
I,
shot. He might not have
yes.
taken before.
Oh man, that
Our
was so cool.
videos, they're thinking of new vantage
Uh-huh.
points, time lapses, different
Yes.
sounds, different, nat sounds, natural sounds, and how to, they're splicing them into different
Yes.
segments into the videos. The team is constantly thinking of how can we be innovative? How can we show the fan a different angle of OU golf? Like,
Yes.
and golf to me, like it is a very traditional sport, but
Hmm.
our golf coaches want it to be a cool sport. Like they want it to
Yeah.
be very, glamorized, and because they want to recruit those guys.
Yes.
And so we have turned what is a classic traditional sport into, we keep those classic eras, but then how are we boosting it through movement,
Yes.
through slow motion, through a wink of Coach Hibble, or a high
Yes.
five of Vero? How do we transform those into what the coach wants for recruiting? So it's also
Yes.
perspective, and it's how we're shifting perspective. But those guys, man, the content creators, Center Vision, they're up for national awards right now. We just
That's
talked about that
awesome.
in a meeting. I mean, there's literally just a list
That's so
of,
cool.
and so the creative team, the graphic designers, our digital team, like those folks are crushing it, and
Yes.
they've been helping grow the numbers, and doing that helps get recruits, and it helps
Yeah.
eyeballs. So again, you just keep seeing that trend of cyclical
Yes.
and synergy and
Yes.
connection and collaboration. We all are we all are to be singing that same song, and at the same time it's lifting,
Yes,
the rest of the programs too. So
absolutely.
it's been pretty fun to watch. So the team is incredible. They're
Is.
amazing.
It is very fun to watch. And I, of course, don't know all their names or anything. And I guess probably most of their names aren't even out there for most people to know. But so Luke Booker is a name that I know just from the softball side. I've had a couple people mention him to me, but he's incredible. And so I know what he looks like now. So I'll watch him like when I'm there, I'll watch him, videoing or taking pictures. And then it's just so crazy, the talent, like you said, and they have to constantly think of new ways to put stuff out there. And I'm just like, man, it's really cool to watch. And then, like I said, if I see him taking a photo or a video and then later see it put together on social media, I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Like, I wish I could do that, but I do not have.
You got to see the sausage being made. It's pretty cool. It is.
It is really cool. It is. It's fun to see. That's one of my favorite parts of social media in general are the media things like that. The photos and the videos and everything put together.
Right.
And I talked to Carly Murray earlier this spring as well. And of course, I recognized her name for years. Of course, she's Kyler's cousin, but just doing all the baseball stuff on the sideline. But with her being involved with Sooner Sports Properties, I was like, I would love to talk to you about all the things. And so it's just cool to see, she kind of has two separate jobs there, but it's cool to see how they intertwine and the role that she plays there. And yeah, like you said, there's so many moving parts that keep everything going that we just don't think about. And I know as a fan, I'm not technically supposed to think about it, but it's just so crazy, all the moving parts and then the talent and the work that goes behind all the things. And I also recently spoke with Whitney Messi. She is turf. Okay. And so that was another one. Caitlin Fournier told me about her. And whoever thinks about what is happening on the field, like who's doing the painting and who's raking and taking care of all of those things. And she even was telling me she takes care of track and field. Well, that never occurred to me.
Every sport has an army, and they have to have it. They have to have it.
Yes, they do. And we don't think about that as spectators. And it is a good thing, but at the same time, there's, again, so many working parts. And hearing her side of the story, talking about all that she does on the different fields and everything, it's just like, oh my gosh. Like you said, it's an army of people for every little thing that we take for granted. And even, the Crimson Combine.
Right.
That was a different, probably kind of, quote, last minute thing.
Very different for us. Very different.
I thought it was cool, but.
Yeah. It's fun to, you in these positions, I've been doing it for almost 20 years, and you have others who are fresh in their roles in sports business. And I say sports business, internal, external, whatever, sports business. And so, but what are, when do we get first? There first for us, because there should be first for student athletes. That's going to be a core memory there should be first for fans.
Yes.
A kids club member, a 90-year-old fan who gets to be on the video board.
Yes.
And so there's all those first, but the staff doesn't necessarily get a lot of first because we're doing this year in and year out. Our days are never the same, which is what I love most. What I love part of the most about my job is that there's everything's different, but from day to day. But then whenever a staff member gets to do the first, like that was a first for everybody.
Yes.
Everybody, we had so many meetings. We did not see that coming. Usually we can kind of peek around the curtain and maybe anticipate some things. And we saw some conversations, obviously, in the national landscape of collegiate athletics, but we were still doing a spring game at that time, and then all of a sudden we were going to pivot, and so it was the right decision for the team, and that's what we needed to do. But there was a lot of work done by a lot of different people to pivot, most namely Bryant Houck and Ryan Majersic. Bryant Houck from internal, Ryan from my team on external, and they did an incredible job of making it different and making it fun, even though the fans had an expectation. Nobody really knew what to expect on this one, and so it was a little bit difficult to try to project. But it turned out great, and now we have some ideas of, we always do recap sessions, and how can we make it better?
Yeah.
We appreciate the fans riding that new journey with us, because it was new for everybody.
It was. Well, I listened to Gabe and Teddy, and again, they were talking about we're supposed to broadcast this, and like we don't know what we're doing or what we're going to say
Right.
or really what's going to happen.
Right.
But I did listen back to their broadcast. It was kind of hard to hear in the stadium, and so I wanted to listen back to it. And I mean, I felt like they handled it well, of course, but it was just a lot of different things, and it was new, and nobody really knew what to do. But I thought it went well. I'm sure
Good.
there were things that didn't go as planned or whatever, but. You have to pivot technically at the last minute for a big thing like that. I feel like it was last for a planner.
Oh yeah, if you don't have the personality that will allow you to be okay with pivots and last minute changes and fluidity and being nimble, then I will say that sports business is not for you, my friend.
Yes, yeah.
But again, that's what I enjoy. I'm going to be surprised, and sometimes it's fun, and sometimes there are surprises that are challenging that we have to work through as a team.
Yes. Okay, so are you going to the World Series?
I will be there.
I am ready. I'm very excited for this postseason, and I'm excited for our baseball guys. They play on Friday.
That's right.
So hopefully the softball girls won't play on Friday.
Right, exactly.
But I'm excited for a good weekend of the diamond sports. I try to follow all the things, and it's really hard. But again, like a lot of those sports get overlooked or not followed as closely or things like that. And I try to mention those and follow them and give them their props. But track and field is one of those. And I saw that they had 43.
43.
Okay, 43
Right.
athletes. And oh my gosh, like that's incredible. And I've actually reached out to Coach Tom.
Yes.
And I'm going to speak with him. I'm probably going to wait till the end of their season. I know there's a lot going on. But I would love to speak with him about that because, again, that's another one of those sports that often gets overlooked.
Yeah.
And I hate that.
What he's been able to do in a year has been insane. So, I mean, we spent the majority of the season in the top 10 and in both men's and women. So that's a huge accomplishment. And then the program record 43 heading to NCAAs. Like it's a pretty big deal. So kudos to him and his staff.
Absolutely. And there's been a lot of athletes that have been repeatedly at the top.
Oh, yeah.
And that's so cool. That is so cool. I've started following them and just really trying to keep up with that and sharing their stuff on social media because I know that means a lot to them because, again, I also spoke with Mark Williams earlier in the spring and our men's gymnastics program is also incredible as well. Absolutely. But again, I sometimes feel like it's usually the women that get overlooked a lot of the times, but there are exceptions and I feel like men's gymnastics is one of those where they're in the top 2 or 3 at the end of every season for as long as I can remember.
That's
and
right.
People don't realize that. And my husband and I went to a meet earlier this season and, it's at McCaslin. I love McCaslin. I graduated in that building, so it's special to me. But it's just crazy to see the difference in the crowd or the number of people, I guess I should say.
Right.
The enthusiasm was definitely there the night that I was at the men's meet, but it was a Stanford meet, and Bill, I believe, was the other team. Yeah, and so the students were there from the elementary school, and so he was telling me about their partnership and everything, which is super cool.
Yes.
And so anyway, it was really cool, though, to see, the kids and their partnership and their relationship with the athletes and how that progresses and maintains over the years.
Absolutely.
And the men, they often do get overlooked. They're not thought of, I think, when you hear gymnastics, they're like, oh, you think of girls, like Simone Biles,
Right.
But there's so many great male athletes as well. And so, again, that was another one that I was like, I want to talk to him because he is awesome. Like, I really liked
his program. He actually has the most national championships at OU. I mean, it's 12, I believe, and
That's
so
incredible.
it's a pretty big number. And so everybody deserves to be outed and highlighted, and he's right there on the top too because of how much he's done for OU and its brand.
For sure. And he's been around for so long, and I don't think people realize that. And the athletes love him, and they come back, and he still keeps in touch with them. He talked a little bit about that. But yeah, I said after our girls won the last national championship that KJ needs a statue.
That has been a conversation topic.
Oh, good. Well, I said, actually, Mark Williams needs one too, if we're being honest.
That's right.
It's just looking at these coaches, and I've also spoken with, I haven't interviewed yet, but I've reached out to the soccer coach,
right.
Matt.
Yes. He's done a lot. He's done a
He
lot in a short time. So has our volleyball coach. I mean,
Yes,
the amount of, just like there are some incredible coaches, elite
yes.
coaches here.
And those sports often do get overlooked because people are focusing on the football and basketball and so, which is great. I mean, I love that.
It
I
is.
love how
Right.
far softball has come just since I was in college because I was at OU from 98 to 2003. And so during that time, holy smokes, like even in that time softball changed quite a bit
Right.
with Marita Hines opening. But anyway, just looking over the years and how everything has progressed, but it makes my little Sooner heart happy. And I love it when I see these coaches that are doing so much for the university. And I went to my first soccer game last fall.
Okay.
I don't know anything about soccer. I just was like, hey, I actually ended up going to 2 matches. Yeah.
Right.
So I did notice the Big 12 put out their soccer schedule already. My husband's actually a poke. He
Okay.
he
Okay.
graduated from
I'm
OSU.
sorry to hear
And
that.
I know he can't be perfect. So I did notice on their soccer schedule they're coming to Norman
Hmm.
in August. So I
Yes.
put that on the calendar immediately because one,
You big one.
anything Bedlam, like my house, we try to go. And so that's on the calendar for sure because I will definitely go to that one. But I also plan to try to make a second match as well. And then I need to try to go to a volleyball game. I've never been to volleyball and I don't know anything about volleyball.
It's exciting.
But it's fun to watch.
Our coaches they compete fiercely, and
Yes.
it shows even in practice. I mean, they're fast paced. They want to entertain the fans. Obviously, they want
Yes.
to provide for their student athletes opportunities to win, but they want to
Absolutely.
entertain the fans by doing that. And so it is fun to watch all of our sports compete at just the highest level.
Yes, it is. Well, and I know volleyball went
Postseason.
postseason fairly far. I mean, they made it to postseason, so that was really cool.
Oh yeah.
So
No,
yeah,
we'll be
it's
doing a highlight. There's been some media outlets who have put in, these are one of 8 schools and one of 4 schools and one of 6 schools, and OU to be,
yes,
one was like football, basketball,
yes.
baseball, and
I
one
did
was
see that.
football, basketball, baseball, volleyball, and
Huh?
so OU is the mainstay. We're in every category.
Yep. I love it.
And again, a little behind the scenes action where we actually just discussed this, and people are like, why aren't you promoting that? We want to blast it out of the water, but we want to make sure that we have, we're completing and we're including our golfs, our tennises,
Absolutely.
yeah, and our baseball and softball. We have a lot of pride and a lot of confidence in our baseball and softball teams, and so we want to be able to include those two. So we're going to be
For
cognizant of
sure.
our seasons, and we're going to
Yes.
wait and promote that. But to any fan who's asking, don't you worry, we are paying attention. We have a strategy behind it,
I'm
so
sure you
wait for
do.
that.
I'm sure you do. It is hard when there's so much going on at one time. I have football season tickets and have for years. And I always do basketball for men's and women. I try to do several games each. I don't live in Norman.
Okay.
So if I lived closer, I would for sure be at more things. But I try to do 3 or 4 games
Right.
each for basketball. And then, of course, I try to do baseball, all the things.
Right.
So now I'm putting in all of these new things that I want to experience, not just as a Sooner fan, but because I'm doing what I'm doing and I want to show them that I really do think they're important and I want to reach out to them and put them on my platform, regardless of how small it may be in the big scheme of things. But, in the world of Sooner fans, I think it's important to build each other up and support each other and show up.
Yes.
Just
Gosh,
show up.
please
And
show up. That
yes.
I think sometimes there's a little bit of well, they're gonna win, or we win at everything, and so let's
Yeah,
focus on these. And everybody, it's a lot. We understand that people and
it is a
fans and
lot.
families and kids,
Yeah.
they're over programmed. Everyone is
Mhm.
over programmed,
Yeah,
and we have a lot of good teams that need your support. So
for sure.
we want to do it. We want to do whatever we can to make the decision easy to come to all of our events. And so, if there are things that we can do from an external standpoint, please, like my email's on the website. I'll give you my cell phone number. I'm open about that. You can find me on social media. Our team we want feedback, and we
Good.
value it. We try to get feedback through surveys, through social media,
Yes.
through word of mouth. So we want but we need people to show up.
For
We
sure.
know they're going to come for postseason and for championships, so we need them all season long. Our student athletes beg for it, and we want to
Yes.
do whatever we can to make the experience as great as it can be for every fan at every sport, so that we
Yes.
break more attendance records. We have broken so many
Yes.
attendance records over the last few years, and we want to continue that trend so that
Yes.
all of us can tout that. We want to give you pride points. We want to give the fans
Absolutely.
pride points. So if you show up, you'll be a part of history, and you'll be
I
part
love
of those
it.
pride points.
I
So,
love being a part of it. I
right.
actually went to my first tennis matches this year as well.
Saw
I
you.
went to a men's, it was LSU. It was indoors. The weather was kind of sketchy that day, but there was a decent crowd. But the fans that were there were invested in like they knew their names, and there were a couple of them that I recognized from social media. But a lot of the people there knew the athletes' names and were cheering for them. And there's a lot going on in there. You know, there's 6 courts. There's a lot going on. But it was so fun. Like, I had a blast. And then I saw you at the women's regional day 1, and that was my first women's meet, and that was so cool. And I was glad we were outdoors. It was a beautiful day. But that was so cool. I mean, I hate the outcome of day 2, but we don't have to talk about that.
Right. Right.
But especially because it was bedlam, and my husband kind of gloated a little bit.
Absolutely.
But anyway, it's just cool that our women's tennis have done very well the last handful of years as well. As a Sooner fan, I consume a lot of content, even before my podcast. And I'm just like, oh yeah, our tennis team does good. But I've never really put forth the effort, I guess, intentionally to follow the athletes and the team and really know what was going on. And of course, having my podcast has in some way forced me, I use that term lightly because it's not like I don't enjoy it, obviously.
Right.
But it's kind of forced me to be more intentional about, okay, what is actually going on with the track and field athletes and the tennis players, all these things. But it's been really rewarding because, like I said, I've followed all of these teams for years, and you just take it for granted, like, oh, okay, well, they made it to regionals, whatever. But then I got kind of invested in following the tennis seasons, and then unfortunately the way the regionals ended, I was mad.
Yeah.
I mean, not mad at them. I was mad for them.
Right.
And I do think too, when you go, like you said, we want people to show up and support them, because I can't imagine being an athlete and like there's not very many people there to watch you.
Right. Absolutely.
Like, I want to go and support them, but also like I can't imagine the emotion. I mean, I know there's good emotions, but also like the emotion that goes into that, and like it's easy to get frustrated or, well, if they would have done this instead or whatever, but like they're human beings. They're kids. They're college kids, and they're 20-year-olds, and we're all putting our stock into their behavior one day, and it's just crazy when you think about it, honestly. But like, oh my goodness, if you show up and you follow them, you do get attached to the players, and you get invested in their seasons and the team, and it means more to you as a fan when you are going. And like you said, it is hard because there's so much going on at once, and then everybody has their own lives as well. But I've just learned all that to say, soccer matches that I attended and the tennis matches that I attended, that I've never gone to those events before, but I feel so much more invested as a fan in the programs now after having attended, because I'm like, I saw them, and it's really cool. And I told people that before. I'm like, you need to go. Like, you need to just go. It's free. Like, tennis is free. And soccer, I think, was like $5. Like, just go, and you will feel, it's fun to go to sporting events. And you will feel so invested in the kids and the staff and just the whole thing. And
right, that's part of our our mission and goal too, is as an external team, is to have the fans tell that story. We are telling the story of student athletes, and have the fans fall in love with them as people. Yes. So that they're not just an X and an O, or they're not just a win and a loss. They are, they do have a story. And so if they are struggling, then we're there to lift them up, because we have invested time, energy, effort into them as humans versus just an athlete who entertains us. So
that is so
what
true.
What you're talking about is one of our goals as an external team as well. So
that's awesome.
Working.
Well, I think social media obviously has a lot of pros and cons, but one of the good things about it is I can go and follow most of those athletes have public profiles or whatever, and I can go and follow them, see what they're doing. And it's kind of funny, like, was it a couple years ago when Ethan Downs got married? I attended the football or ladies clinic that Coach Venables put on that summer, and when I saw him, I said, "Oh, congratulations on your wedding!" And my friend was like, "How did you know that?" And I was like, I saw it on his Instagram.
Right.
And she was laughing at me, and I was like, "Hey, I'm not nosy. They put it out there."
Exactly.
But it's again, it's just like you can follow them and you learn. But I think not in a creepy way, but like I think that meant a lot to him that like, hey, that crazy lady saw that I got married and congratulated me, and that has to mean something. That we can follow them on social media and get to know them more as a person, and like you said, not just like an X or an O or a racket or a bat or whatever. It's just there's a person there.
That's right.
And I think that's one of the good things about social media, and there's a lot of bad about it too, but yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
I like to focus on the good part of it because
Right.
there are a lot of good things. But yeah,
Absolutely.
I enjoy that. And like I said, since I've started doing this, I have become more intentional about a wide variety of athletes, and like the track and the soccer player, all of them, because like I probably a year ago, I maybe could have told you like one track person and maybe one soccer player. And it's just really cool to get invested with our teams. And so
100%.
I love that, like you said, we want to get the people there and then keep them there and entertain them and make them come
Right.
back because
100%.
yeah, it's
Couldn't agree more.
it's fun. I mean, I know I'm partial because I'm a Sooner girl, but Sooner born, Sooner bred. But I truly do think that I've never had a bad experience at an OU event. I've never seen bad content put out, from the media team or anything like that.
Glad
I
to
just
hear that.
feel like everything is top notch, first class, and I know that's the goal.
Yeah.
That's everybody's goal. But
Right.
and also I will say this, and I don't mean this like negative toward any other program or school or anything, but I think that we have the best coaches. I mean, across the board, like classy people. I mean, I don't hear bad things from athletes about the coaches or the parents about the coaches or anything like that. Like I have never, even people like talking to Whitney Messi and just all kinds of people behind the scenes, like they don't have anything bad to say about anybody that I've heard. And I think that means a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I saw President Harris and his wife at a softball game a while back. And I just went up to him. I was like, "Hey, I wanted to give you my card."
Yeah.
He's not going to remember me after that, which is totally fine. But he was so kind
Right.
to me. Like, and I realize he kind of has to be a nice person, He can't run around being rude to everybody. But at the same time, like, he was so kind and took the time to visit with me. His wife was very kind. And so that says a lot because it just means a lot when somebody that's like a high up person like him, like, he took 30 seconds to talk to me and he didn't have to.
Right.
And that means a lot to us fans, and it does. It means a lot. I just think we have the best people. I've never had a bad experience with anybody, and I am friends with Chris Plank, so I realize I'm a little partial to him, but him and Toby Rowland, I think, are the best. Yeah. I just think they're the best. Anyway.
I agree. We have the best people, and that's what makes a great department. So
absolutely.
Couldn't agree more with you on that one.
Absolutely. So you did tell me, and I think you touched on this a little bit earlier, but you were telling me your team of girls that you have and what all that they do. So remind me again, so who all do you have underneath you, and like kind of a little bit about what they all do?
Yeah, so marketing, and you've talked with Caitlin, we do have more more women in that department too. Spirit squad coaches, assistant directors in marketing. Communications, we have one woman in communications. We have our licensing department our licensing director is a woman, and then our head of digital strategy and revenue innovation is a woman. Our football digital strategist is a woman. So those were the ones on that list. And then again, we have several more women that work for those are several of our leaders in our department are women, and then our men are our allies. So they're very very focused on, we all lift each other up.
Good.
Not gender specific, we all lift each other up. But in promoting women in sports, just kind of listing those out. And then our just some of the other groups that obviously we have women on our Sooner Sports Properties team. You mentioned Carly. We have more women on that team. We have women on our Sooner Club fundraising staff, and women on our ticketing, our fundraising, our ticketing and ticket sales team, and then also our Sooner Vision team, and then our department head of graphic and creative strategy. She is a woman as well. So we have a lot of representation and a diverse staff, which we are all very proud of.
Yes. As you should be.
Yes. We love the different perspectives. We make each other better by celebrating each other's differences. So that's something that's big within our crew.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any closing thoughts? Anything you want to share?
Just that we love the fan support. Student athletes are our goal, and I know that our fans want to support the student athletes too. And so
absolutely,
as we talked about before, we need people to show up. We know that we have a very loyal fan base, and that their goal is also to support our student athletes. And so nothing supports them more than showing up for them, showing up on social and speaking positively, showing up with generosity to our Center Club, and showing up physically at our events. That all goes into our vision and mission of supporting the student athletes, and also making memorable experiences for our fans too. So that's the biggest thing that we ask for from Sooner Nation, and Sooner Nation always delivers. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Of course. Well, as a fan, thank you guys and everyone involved, because like I said, I've never had a bad experience at an OU event. So you guys are
awesome.
Love
to hear it.
Well, thank you again for taking the time for me.
Absolutely. Thank you. Have a good one.
I appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed the awesome conversation today with Leah Beasley, and I'm very thankful for her taking the time to come onto the show and explain to us what she does. It's time for this week's Sooner Sports Headlines of the Week, and I have a lot to say about the diamond sport, so we're going to touch on a few other things before we get to baseball and then conclude with softball. So I had a conversation with our soccer coach, Matt Mott, and one of the senior soccer players, Hadley Murrell, this past week, and he told me that the soccer schedule, then part of it, is coming soon. It should be coming out on the day that this episode drops. So if you're listening, make sure you go and check out the OU Soccer social media and get your schedule so you can make plans to get out to a game. And don't forget, Bedlam Soccer will be in Norman on Sunday, August the 17th, and I am most definitely planning to make it to that one. So I hope to see you there. Our men's golf had Bedlam in the NCAA tournament last week for a spot in the semis, but unfortunately they did get beat by the Cowboys, but it did make that loss a little better, I suppose, depending on how you look at it, because the Cowboys did go on and win the national championship. So congrats to my husband and his alma mater on their golf national championship. And again, I guess it made me feel a little better as a Sooner fan that is who beat us out of the semis, and then they went on and won the whole thing. I guess it's somewhat of a consolation. We also have 11 Sooners competing in the under 21 Nationals World Team Trials this weekend in Geneva, Ohio. Congratulations to those 11 Sooners from our wrestling team who got that honor to compete in the trials. That's a pretty incredible feat just to make it that far in their careers. I also wanted to mention real quick, and I know I've mentioned this before, but me at Sooner Girl Sports Pod, we support Oklahoma City Spark and the AUSL, the Athletes Unlimited Softball League, this summer. AUSL will be making a stop in Norman in June, and of course the Oklahoma City Spark will be playing at Oklahoma Christian University all summer long. There are lots of opportunities to go out and support our pro Sooners on the diamond this summer right here close to home. So I hope that you will do that. Go out and check the schedule for Spark tickets. Their season starts on Father's Day, which is June 15th. And I did a giveaway with my locker room members. This past week, I had someone who won 2 general admission tickets. She got to pick the Spark game that she wanted to attend. So I'm very excited for her. It's her first Spark game. So I'm excited for her. Congratulations, Cynthia. Thank you for being a part of the locker room, and congratulations on your win of the Spark tickets. There are lots of former Sooners on the team. Jossie, Riley Boone, Lana Torres, Haley Lee, Jada, Kinsey. Alex Storacco has played with them in the past. However, in case you missed it, she did announce her medical retirement from softball this past weekend. So she won't be playing with them this summer, but there are plenty of other awesome Sooners on that team for us to get out and support. So I encourage you to do so. As you know, I hosted the Spark owner, Tina Floyd, and Coach Amber Flores, who is also a former Sooner and the head softball coach at Seminole State College. On the podcast, both of them had episodes back in March, so I will post those on social media as a reminder, but I encourage you to go back and listen to those to get some inside scoop, not only on Amber's time at OU and the softball season, but just the spark and the organization. And my episode with Tina was incredible, just visiting with her about her vision and mission behind the team, and they are just both great humans, all the great humans behind the scenes at the OKC Spark. So I encourage you to get out, support our girls, support our local teams and our economy. Great things are coming to Oklahoma with the OKC Spark. And as I did mention, the AUSL softball is coming to Norman June 20th through 3rd. Tickets are on sale on the Soonersports.com website. The Volts and the Talons are who are playing. Tiara Jennings plays for the Volts. Sydney Romero plays for the Talons. Sam Landry was given a golden ticket and was the overall #1 draft pick by the Volts. Obviously, since our season just concluded last night at time of recording, she has yet to commit to that, but she was drafted by the Volts, so there is a chance that we see her on the diamond in Norman again in June. So get out and support those former Sooners and what they are doing. Okay, real quick, baseball. I feel like I'm going to be reading a lot off of my iPad on this episode, so if you're watching, I do apologize, but I got a lot of facts and things I made note of during the postseason this weekend, and I don't want to leave anything out or misquote anything, so I do apologize if it looks like I'm reading off of my screen here to the side of my computer. So baseball, we made it to regionals in Chapel Hill, and on game 1 on Friday, Nebraska, we came out and won that game. It was an incredible outing by the team. Carly Murray posted 3 remarkable things that were at the game that night. Malachi Witherspoon started on the mound. He had 6 shutout innings and 9 Ks to open the regionals. Scott Mudler's return after his shoulder popping out of place during the game and then went back out and finished. Drew Dickerson went 2 for 3, home run and 2 RBIs. He's a freshman, by the way. Just a really great overall game 1 for Skip Johnson's crew in the regional. Game 2, we did lose against UNC, the host, with Kyson on the mound. So that was probably a little bit of a shocker, but they're obviously a really good team. Game 3 on Sunday for baseball, we beat Nebraska again 17-1. It was a big day at the plate for so many Sooners. Easton Carmichael, Drew Dickerson, again a freshman, Jackson Willits. Cade Crossland had an epic performance on the mound. 7 innings pitched, 9 Ks, 5 hits, and only 1 run. Great outing for the Sooners on Sunday. And then we have game 4 on Sunday, which we had to face North Carolina. We had to beat them twice to make it out of regionals. We did take them down in game 1, 9-5 on Sunday. We upset them to force a winner-take-all game 7, which we played on Monday. Barfield pitched on Sunday. He had an incredible outing. Deshaun Harris had a great outing at the plate. Jackson Willits. We played UNC. All the marbles on Monday, and unfortunately, things did not go our way. It was just not a good display on the diamond at all from our boys, but they have no reason to hang their head. Of course, there were some times when it was sloppy play and things like that, but they really had an excellent season ending out there in the regionals, and they pushed UNC to the brink. But UNC wins their own regional to come out for Supers next week, so I'll be following them. I feel like I have a little attachment to them now after watching them play this weekend a little bit. But best of luck to UNC since they took us down. I think it's only right to maybe root for them. Even Coach Skip Johnson said they have a great squad and a great chance to win the national championship. So shout out to our Sooner baseball guys, to Toby Rowland, Kendall Pettis, Carly Murray for their awesome broadcasting skills this season. It was a great time at the L Dale, and I'm looking forward to next season. We do have a promising outlook in the future of the program, so we're definitely looking forward to that. So congrats on your great season, Sooner guys. It was a great run, and we'll see you next season on the diamond. Okay, I'm going to wrap up with softball, and again, I have a lot of notes on my iPad, so I do apologize for reading off of a screen if you're watching, but I really have a lot of information and quotes and things that I saved that I do want to get out on the pod. Okay, first of all, I want to mention Cassidy Pickering and Sam Landry were first team All-American. Gabby Garcia and Ella Parker were second team All-American, and they all had an incredible season as Sooners. I'm so thankful that they all were on our team this year. Shout out to Sam Landry for ending her career with us. It was, of course, a sad ending to the season, but I'm just going to say this before I go into all of the details. Of course, you're sad when the season ends. Baseball's over now, softball's over. What are we supposed to do with ourselves? We do need to follow our track people, which I do want to mention that real quick as well. I almost forgot. But we had a program record 43 regional entries to start their NCAA journeys this past weekend. We had 14 advance to the national championship in Eugene next week on June 11th through 14th. So there's still Sooner sports going on, guys. I know the Diamond sports are over, but there's still student athletes competing for the University of Oklahoma at a national championship level with our track and field team. So I hope that you will follow them on social media. I will give an update on them and how things finish for them after the conclusion of the national championship, June 11th through 14th in Eugene, Oregon. So back to softball. You know, the selection committee really made OU's path potentially to go through every team we lost to in the series. We took down Bama in supers. We had to beat Tennessee and possibly would have had to come head to head with Florida again. It was a tough path. Not all of those matchups happened. And like I said, things didn't end the way that we wanted, but it was still an excellent season. Karen Weekly made a comment. She's the Tennessee softball coach, to the crowd after game one when we beat Tennessee about how we had 990 fans on our side making a difference. And you know, I don't really have to tell you how I feel about that. Mike White said the same bullcrap, and it's exactly that. It is complete bullcrap, because where were those 9,000, 10,000, 11,000 fans on the games that we lost? It's just complete idiocy, and I'm sorry. No disrespect to Karen Weekly. She's an excellent coach, but for the love, come on, lady. Like, it was just insane. And then Ella Parker comes out in the 7th hour, honestly, and hits this home run in the 7th inning. And Natalie Jones, she takes care of game management, and she literally said, she posted on her Instagram, she was 15 seconds from pausing the game due to lightning. And boy, it was just good timing for a lot of reasons. There was a meme going around of a Tennessee fan's face, and people were putting the caption on it saying, "Hey dude, it's called Sooner Magic." And you know, honestly, that's one of my biggest fears, is becoming a meme at a sporting event, but knowing my luck, it's bound to happen. But you know, we had 2 outs, 2 on, bottom of the 7th, that walk-off home run by Ella Parker. That was some excellent Sooner Magic we're not going to soon forget, regardless of the outcome of the overall season. That extended our season and our play in the World Series, and without Ella, we would not have been able to continue on. So game 2, we had OU Texas, Red River rivalry. At this point, Ole Miss and Florida had already gone 2-2 in the World Series. Thankfully, we did not do that. We turned 5 double plays in 12 innings of World Series play. We did leave 9 on base in the Texas game. It was just not timely hitting at all. We were not aggressive. We had chances to swing. We had some momentum. We weren't able to capitalize on it. Gabe Eichert said, OU softball has delivered in so many clutch moments over the years that when it doesn't happen, you're simply shocked. And that's honestly the truth. Everybody out there was thinking we were going to win, and that just speaks to the program's excellence. And he really hit the nail on the head with that one, not only with that game, but just with the ending of the season overall. Game 3, that win advanced us to the 9th straight Women's College World Series semifinals. 9th straight semifinals, you guys. That's incredible in and of itself. There was a lot of emotion with that game against Oregon, with Coach Lombardi and Sid Romero being on staff there. Sydney Sanders had an excellent night. We ended up winning that game 4-1. Sydney had 2 home runs, 3 RBIs. Isabella Emmerling had a home run. Sam Landry pitched 4 innings, only had 2 hits and 6 Ks. And then here came Monday, where we faced Texas Tech in the semifinals, and we were going to have to beat the Red Raiders and Nyjah Kennedy twice to advance to the championship series, and unfortunately, we were not able to do that. I personally was hoping to at least take them to the second game and wear them out a little bit. That didn't happen, but that's okay. So coming into the night, Nyjah Kennedy had thrown 362 consecutive pitches for Texas Tech, every pitch of the Supers. Additionally, she throws 671 consecutive pitches for her team at the Women's College World Series. It's just her stats and her stamina. She's an incredible player. She is a generational player, like a once-in-a-lifetime kind of player. You know, Jordy Ball's the same way. Being able to watch players like Nyjah and Jordy being a former Sooner are truly just a remarkable thing to see. And, you know, our own Sam Landry, she threw over 400 pitches in the Women's College World Series. Sid Barker went 3 for 3 at the plate against Nyjah, and I don't know of anybody else who's done that. I do believe they mentioned one other batter who had done that, but that's still a pretty incredible feat. Sid Barker, freshman, going 3 for 3 at the plate against arguably the best pitcher in the country, and I'm not going to argue with that. But The seventh inning, let's fast forward a little bit and talk about this. It was an 0-2 pitch with 2 outs in the seventh inning against the 9-hole batter, Abby Dayton. She hit a 2-run homer to tie the game. She has had 3 runs all season long. One of them against Carlin Pickens in Tennessee, the other one against Najah Kennedy in Tech. I don't know what the third one was, but 2 of her 3 home runs came from arguably the best pitchers in the country. So that says a lot about Abby Dayton. Again, newbie to our program this year, just speaks a lot about the talent we have on the roster and what's to come for the program. As she was rounding third, Coach Gasso yelled to her, "Touch home plate." It was just really hilarious. If you watched the UCLA Tennessee game on Sunday, you know what I'm talking about. If you missed it, you should probably look that up because it was pretty funny. The Tennessee coach noted that the UCLA player Megan Grant hit a home run. She did not touch home plate when she came back around. She was celebrating with her team. Her teammate noticed it, I guess, and said, "Hey, go back and touch the plate." She did go back and touch the plate. They put the play under review, came back 20 minutes later, said the play was unreviewable, but it's insane. They said the player can't be assisted to touch home plate or something, and then said that the play was unreviewable after they spent 20 minutes reviewing it. I said it's because they were on the phone with all their lawyers and attorneys trying to figure out what to do here because you didn't want to mess with Karen Weekly or Kelly Perez, honestly. But anyway, it was just a funny thing that Patty yelled, touch home plate when she rounded third, because you just can't be too careful after what we all watched on Sunday in the World Series. The good thing about this team, regardless of the outcome overall of the season, well, first of all, is it was just an incredible season. I don't think anyone expected us to be where we were, but that team did not give up. They did not give up at any point in the season. They battled back. Every time they got kicked in the teeth, every time they were down, they battled back, and that says a lot about the team and going forward with the program. Kelly Bright, we were texting last night during the game, and if you missed my episode with her previewing the postseason a few weeks ago, you should go check it out. But she said, "I can't even begin to express how we were never supposed to even be here, so they have to be proud of their accomplishment of the season." And Chris Plank said in the postgame, "To be in this moment, I just don't think we understand what it truly means." And that is so true. To be, like I said, 9th straight year in the Women's College World Series semifinals is incredible. Speaks volumes of our program. We have nowhere to go but up. This is such a bright future for this program. And tip of the cap to Texas Tech coach Jerry Glasgow. He gave a shout out to OU softball in his post game, where he gave props to us and said the program is legendary. When I grew up, we talked about John Wooden and UCLA basketball. That's what Patty Gasso has done for Oklahoma, and that's what Oklahoma has done for softball. It's in a better place than the last time that OU didn't make the championship series, which was in 2019. So to quote Bud Wilkinson, "What you did was historic and will never be duplicated. 1,453 days of being the reigning national champion in softball." And I'm just going to go out on a limb, and at least in my lifetime, that's not going to happen again. It's not going to happen again. It is just incredible, and we have the GOAT, the best coach in the nation. We have some of the most talented players. They came together as a team when we only had a couple returning players on the roster from last year with all of the graduations and a couple of transfers. We brought in all those freshmen and transfers, put them together, and they came so far. If you watch them play last fall in the Battle Series and the Fall Series, you can tell how far they came during the season just from that point, the last 9 months, and it truly is remarkable. It speaks volumes on Patty Gasso. What they did this season, it's just incredible. She graduated 10 seniors from last year's team, retooled her roster with 5 transfers, 9 freshmen, and she still made the national semifinal. It's just remarkable work by Patty Gasso and the Young Sooners, and it just truly does speak a lot of the program. Again, we had 37 regular season games without a shutout, and it didn't happen again tonight, but the last time we had gotten shut out was 2019 Bama in the Women's College World Series. So thanks to Abby Dayton for not letting us get a shutout. That was still some Sooner magic. There's nothing sad about this except for the fact that some of our players are leaving. And just what a damn game. What a season. What a team. Boomer Sooner always. It was really cool to see the ties between Sam Landry, Coach Glasgow of Texas Tech. Coach Glasgow's daughter, Jerry Ann, was killed in a car accident in 2019. She played with Sam Landry. Sam has her name stitched on the side of her glove. If you haven't seen or noticed that previously, she did have her name stitched on her glove. But Jerry Ann played played with Coach White at Oregon before he was at Texas. So it's almost like it was storybook. I saw Lauren Chamberlain make a quote about this as obviously, you want your team to go far, but it's almost like this was supposed to be for Texas Tech. Their first time ever in the Women's College World Series, and they make it to the Champ Series. It's unreal. But with their coach and just all the memories of his daughter and the several former players who played with his daughter, and they're playing for her. Again, with Sam, that connection. Sam and several players on the Texas Tech team played with Coach Glasgow at Louisiana last year. They transferred with him there. She came to Oklahoma. But again, just them all playing for Jerry Ann's memory is a pretty cool thing to see. And Coach Glasgow said that Jerry Ann would just be so proud of them. And I have no doubt that that is true. And that's just a really cool tie. So it's hard for me to say this, but I also can't root for Texas. Horns down always. But best of luck to Texas Tech in the Champ Series. I'll be watching it. They play Wednesday, Thursday, if needed, Friday night game if it goes to that. I'm just going to go out on a limb and give a prediction. I could be wrong. In fact, I hope I'm wrong, but I think Tech can take one of the games. I truly do. I don't know if they can beat Texas twice. I hope that they do. But Tech has a generational player. I don't think this is a long-term thing for that program. I don't mean to be rude or disrespectful, but I think this is their time, and I hope they enjoy it. I hope they go and shine. It's just hard. Stupid Texas. At least they don't have to play us. If they win it all, it's because they didn't have to play us. I'm just going to go out on a limb and throw that out there too. But, it took a generational talent to knock out an OU team with one returning senior and 3 starters. Hats off to them because it almost didn't happen. The world was rejoicing. You better live it up. I feel like Dark Patty's coming back next year, and it's just going to be a great season. So again, shout out to our softball team. I truly cannot give them enough praise and thanks for the amazing season that they gave us. They went further than anyone ever thought that they would, and to be able to do that is just truly incredible. And we have a lot of players, of course, Sid Sanders graduating, Sam Landry, Bella Smith, but the rest of that team hopefully is coming back. The portal opens soon. I hope we don't lose a lot to the portal. I think we'll obviously be trying to get a pitcher in the portal. That seems to be a pretty common, but Patty knows what she's doing. I'm not doubting for one second what that woman's doing. So it was just a great season for that young team that came together and learned how to play together, and it is only going to go up from here. So I will end this episode with this week's Sooner fun fact of the week, and it's a pretty cool one that I saw on Reddit. It's 6 schools made it to the postseason this year in each football, women's volleyball, men's and women's basketball, softball, and baseball, and it's North Carolina, Oregon, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Texas. And this is actually something that Leah and I talked about in our interview about how they're always putting out these graphics like this, which I'll put this out on social media, but they're always putting out these graphics like, look at these schools. These are the only 4, 5, 6 schools that did this, and OU's always in the mix there. And that's pretty cool for our program. We're always standing out above the rest, and I'm very proud to be a Sooner, and I know that you are too, or you wouldn't be here. So thank you guys for listening. I know that sports are over for the school year, so to speak, but the fun here at Sooner Girl Sports Pod is not ending. I have a great slate coming up this summer, and there will still be podcasts each week with new guests and things going on. So I hope that you continue to tune in. And if there's any developments throughout the week, I will still do the Sooner headlines of the week to give those updates, but I know those might be far and few between for the next month or so at least. But thank you for listening. Thank you for following me on social media. If you don't follow me, I'm at Sooner Girl Pod, literally everywhere on social media. I have merch available for sale. Go and like, follow, and subscribe everywhere. Download the podcast, share it with your friends. All of that means so much to me. Do purchase merch. Be sure and take your photo, tag me in it on social media, or send me a photo. And please rate and leave a review on Facebook or one of the podcast platforms. And my link tree is in my link in bio on all of my social media, and that has all of the links for the merch, the locker room, Substack, where you can sign up to get all of the updates sent to your inbox each week, episodes, big updates, and my monthly newsletter called The Playbook, also on Substack as well. So never miss a thing when you subscribe for free on Substack, or you can pay $5 a month to become a member of the locker room, where you can be like Cynthia and win 2 tickets to the OKC Spark. Or I do merch giveaways and things like that. There's also a merch discount. We have a chat in the Substack app. We have online monthly huddles, and we have some in-person meetups coming soon. So I appreciate all of you guys for listening so much, for all of your support. It truly means the world. And again, I will be back next Wednesday. I know there's not a ton of sports going on, but I'm following our track and field team, and I hope that you do the same. And I will see you next Wednesday where we talk sports.